I'm a little late on this video. I should have done it earlier, but I've been busy. Please forgive me on that. So Apex 2015 or Apex 2015 was 3 years ago. Genesis 5, very it was a very fun tournament for me. First major in a while. I always get excited for it because, like, when you go from November to January and you're like, huh, like there hasn't been melee in a while. Like you get that itch to come back, and on the flip side, in the summer, you're just like, oh, like another major this week. Like, oh, like I have to travel again. Oh my gosh, this is so tiring. So this is my quick recap. I didn't play singles, so I'm gonna get that out of the way. I did play DDR though. Tragic ending where I went 0 and 2. Unfortunately, though, that tournament was very stacked. I did play doubles, didn't go so hot. So it was pretty interesting because Mango and I, this is our now official second year into having the coach player relationship. And it was pretty interesting because Mango's been a lot more motivated lately to play and practice, and you guys have probably seen that in his stream. So from that perspective, it was pretty interesting trying to get back into the swing of things. Um, now, let's see. So day one went pretty straightforward because all he had was round one pools, and there's not really much you can do. You just play three like low level players, and then you move on to day two. Now, day two is also decently straightforward, but I was a little bit concerned on round two pulls because even though he like three stocked Kira in one of the games as Falco versus Fox, Mango looked a little bit sloppy. So I was like, okay, like I wonder if this is like something I have to worry about, or if Mango's going to ramp up into something more. Um, and so it was pretty interesting. Was the schedule from 12 to 2 was his pool, I believe, and then top 64 was from 6 p.m. on. So I guess the big thing I wanted to do this time was balance Mango's energy, which has been something of an issue at previous Genesis. So like I try to experiment and try to budget his energy levels. And unfortunately, as you guys saw, it wasn't really the best. Um, so after his pool ended, Mango wanted to play a bit more, so I was like, okay, that's fine, and then we should probably take a break. So we actually decided to take a nap from like 3 to 5, and then come to the venue, you know, a little bit before he needs to play round or top 64. And it was interesting for us in terms of bracket because it wasn't Android or Cobalt that made it to top 64 to face Mango. It was actually Stango, Stango versus Mango. But the key thing I wanted to do was conserve his energy because at top 64, um, because everything is streamed, it's and every match gets like recorded at the very minimum. I know that was going to take a really long time, so very fortunate I was able to get a schedule and find out that Mango plays at 7 p.m. and not like 6. So I just wanted to say like, okay, maybe he shouldn't come at 5 p.m. and do 2 hours of warm up. Maybe we should do 1 hour so we don't fatigue at the end of it. So that's what we ended up doing. He ended up playing his first match against Stingo, which was like a pretty interesting set. A lot of people asked me if I was actually worried about Stango, even when Stango's up 2-1, and frankly, I wasn't really that worried, just given how the matches themselves were going. And I just knew that Mango was going to win no matter what, just because I knew that Mango and I both knew that he was just going to spam, dash dance grab or shield grab every time, and it just took 3 games for Mango to just realize that in certain situations that Stingle was just always going to go for the same option. And I'm not trying to say this to belittle Stingle. I think Stingle's like really good. But honest Mango kind of just realized like, hey, this is what he's doing. This is his pattern. Like you saw game 4 and 5, and it went pretty straightforward from there. What would have been actually scary though is if Stingo actually started to mix it up and go for a different game plan in game 4 and game 5, then maybe we would have lost that. But it didn't seem like I think Stingo seemed content with how he played games 1 through 3, that I don't think he was going to change his strategy or his options. So I wasn't too worried about that. And then he played Duck, but he, strangely enough, like he warmed up against Duck earlier in the day, and like although Duck was taking a lot of matches in practice, I just thought that Mango was going to have it's a like a Samus in like a decade since I believe like Evo or UCLA like in like 07, 08. So I wasn't too worried about that. I think the big thing we were worried about was Plup. Um, and I think Plutt played well. I mean, he won the tournament after all. It was just a little tragic because I knew that for us, like we just really wanted to get into the finals day in winners because I just don't think it's really that easy, or I don't know how realistic it is to make a losers run. Like even though Mango's like known to make like long losers runs, like the fact of the matter is that he hasn't gone to grand finals and won it. And I don't know of anybody that can right now. I think just the skill level at the top is just too good, and you have to play way too many killers in a row to make realistic runs like in 2013. So we just said like we have to make it in to winners on Sunday if we want to win the whole thing. Unfortunately, we didn't. Plup played better. Mango played sloppy towards the end. I think it really just came down to like fatigue, which is unfortunate. It was like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I wish I could have managed his energy better, so I really take a lot of the blame on that. And he looked sluggish towards the end, even against Wizzy. It kind of looked pretty ugly. So unfortunately, we got to day three, and losers, not in winners. And I knew it was going to be a long road at that point. On day three, it was also the fact that it was the Eagles game. We wanted to celebrate and watch it. But at the end of the day, I just kind of wanted to make sure that Mango was on low energy most of the day, so that because in prior, if we want to win the event, I knew that I would have to budget his energy very well. Whereas you guys saw in prior I took a hard gamble. I took a moderate gamble here, and I just said like, hey, like if we're gonna win this thing, we have to budget his energy. So, but it, unfortunately, it went the other direction where it never really seemed like Mango hit his stride at any given point. Um, so what we did was we knew that top eight was roughly around 7 o'clock. So I just said, hey, you're not even the first match, so maybe if we get there by 6:30 and we give 1 hour of warm-ups, and then your first match is at 7:30 ish, then maybe that would be good enough to play against Axe and then move on forward from there. But we also had another dilemma because of the way the brackets panned out. Against Axe, we could go Fox or Falco, but the match after that, against Leffen, he's going to play Falco, and against Hungrybox, he's going to play Fox. And we just kind of thought, well, like, okay, like, who do you honestly think is going to win between Hungrybox and Leffen? And Mingo and I both kind of thought, well, it looks like it's pretty close, and Leffen looked like he was playing pretty good. So we just kind of thought, well, maybe like Leffen's gonna win, and if that's the case, we should probably warm up Falco after Axe. And lo and behold, that Axe set, I've never seen Mango play that nervously, and I think that comes down to just a lack of tournament practice. And so what we agreed to is that Mango has to go to one tournament a month, even though in February and March, even when the tournaments are like there's not like super majors, but just to keep him in kind of a tournament form and not have that nervous jitters. But very fortunately, he ended up squeaking by, and we ended up starting to practice Falco, or we ended up starting to play Fox because we thought Hungrybox was going to lose. And then lo and behold, Leffen ended up losing, and so we're just like, okay, like we have to warm up the Falco. Um, and unfortunately the Falco warm up wasn't enough. And I hope like at the end of the day, like I believe that Johnning is Johnning unless you like try to act on it and improve it. But I'm just listing out the circumstances that are going on here and like how we're gonna adjust. So the warm up wasn't enough, and even though Leffen was playing really bad, if like against Mango in that loser set, like Mango also played very poorly, and so it was kind of disappointing to see that even though Leffen was probably playing like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7 at best, like Mango wasn't able to beat the 6 out of 10. So I guess for routines for next time to fix that, one of the big things we're like examining is like how do we balance Fox and Falco. And I kind of just concluded after like thinking about it and looking at our past routines, like we've always been able to go Falco and then switch to Fox for a set. So I think what we will do next time is prioritize just playing Falco no matter what, and then just trust that like just practicing a small amount of Fox last minute just to do refresh some tech will be enough to play against like Hungrybox if he has to do that. But overall, the Falco needs a lot of warm up, and what you guys saw in the video was a lot of especially in the match against Leffen, a lot of drop combos, a lot of bad movement, a lot of getting stuck in shield. Like a lot of, I think the drop combos probably hurt us the most, mainly because like Mango got a lot of openings that didn't lead into full combos like we're normally used to facing, and those were because it was just not warmed up enough, and there was just a lot of sloppy execution. So that's the one big adjustment I need to make for next time. Now, very fortunate, like we were really dejected of losing like um, it sucks, like, because you wait like a couple months just to get to this point. But very fortunate. We stuck around. We saw a lot of great sets. Congrats to Plup for winning. It was really exciting to see him win. I'm really happy for Plup. Mango's really happy for Plup. Like, despite like Plup posting up a video saying like Mango's the rival and like why does Mango keep calling me bad? Like Mango and I have like tremendous respect for Plup. And I hope that no one ever takes it the wrong way that we think Plup's a bad player. Like, I hope it doesn't like spread through like Reddit or like Twitter misinformation that Mango or I think that he's like not good or that we shouldn't be losing to him. Like, we have the utmost respect for Plup. So all in all, like it was a fun experience. Unfortunately we couldn't hold the W, but very fortunately Counter Strike redeemed us. And I also feel kind of bad because I got to meet Stewie, TK, Tarek, and Rush at a New Year's party, and we talked like C9 stuff, and I just kind of said like, hey, like if you guys gonna beat FaZe this year? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna beat FaZe this year. Like we're gonna show you that we can beat them. And then I was like, okay, cool. Like I told them like I really want you guys to beat FaZe. I think it'd be really cool because they've been your kryptonite, and you know, I, if you guys believe that you guys can do it, then you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna beat Armada and Hungry Box this year, and we're gonna show up too. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to hold my end of the bargain to Stewie, Tarek, and Rush, but they did, which is pretty cool for C9. So yeah, I'm overall excited for this year. Um, there's a lot of more melee to be had, and unfortunately, as a coach, it's a little unfortunate that we're on break again, and it's the Super Bowl, so it's Mango's time to just enjoy the Eagles, but. We're going to start clicking back into melee mode shortly after the Super Bowl, and when we start to see events spring up, which unfortunately doesn't seem like there's too many of them in the next few months. Just the counters tends to be empty in like February and March. So those are my thoughts on Genesis 5. Really excited overall.